Chapter 5 of Amelia Bedelia Goes Wild. The Best Laid Plans of Mice and Amelia Bedelia. The next morning was bright and sunny. Amelia Bedelia's father had to leave for work earlier than usual for an important meeting. He kissed Amelia Bedelia and her mother goodbye and ran out the door. In less than a minute, he was back, soaked from head to toe. "Did you forget your umbrella?" asked Amelia Bedelia. "It's sunny. I don't need an umbrella," said her father, fuming. "I need answers. Who left a pile of banana peels in front of the garage door?" Amelia Bedelia looked right at her. "What did you do with those bananas I gave you yesterday?" she asked. "Nothing," said Amelia Bedelia. "I was going to show my friends how a monkey peels a banana, but we ran out of time, and I left the bananas on the patio table. Sorry." "Well, somebody ate them," said her father, "and I slipped on those peels, and I went flying." "Oh, honey, are you hurt?" asked Amelia Bedelia's mother. "Oh, I don't think so," he said. "I landed in the wading pool full of water, and it broke my fall." "That was lucky," said Amelia Bedelia. It was even luckier that it was time to catch the school bus. Amelia Bedelia kissed her mom and dad goodbye, grabbed her backpack, and raced out the kitchen door. She took a quick detour and looked at the banana peels. "That's weird," she thought. Each banana had been peeled using the monkey method. Maybe everyone already knows how to peel bananas that way. On the school bus, Amelia Bedelia sat with her friend Joy, making plans for her zoo. "I like big cats the best," said Joy. "What are we going to find? You think a lion, a tiger, a leopard?" An older boy leaned over the seat behind him. "My aunt's got a really big cat," he said. "He's got tiger stripes and weighs more than 37 pounds. "That's not big," said Amelia Bedelia. "That's enormous." "Yep," said the boy. "He just sits around all day, except when he waddles to his food dish." Mrs. Shaw kept her students busy, and she kept a close eye on their work. In fact, when she taught them how animals use signals to warn each other of danger, the class took that lesson to heart. During recess, some kids figured out a way to signal everyone when the hawk was watching. It was a matter of survival. "We need a warning signal," said Wade, "but it can't be too obvious, or she will catch on," said Holly. "Well, we can slap our tails on the water, like a beaver when a coyote comes near, or whistle like a prairie dog when a hawk is overhead." Beep, beep, beep went a truck backing up to the cafeteria to make a delivery. They all looked at each other and got the same idea at the same time. Whenever someone spotted hawk closing in, they would say beep as loud as they dared. When recess was over, Mrs. Shaw had the class take out their animal journals. She described different animal habitats from rainforests and wetlands to grasslands and deserts. Amelia Bedelia tried to pay attention, but she was more interested in working on the map for her backyard, AZ, which is after zoo. It didn't take Mrs. Shaw long to catch her drawing instead of taking notes. Joy whispered, "Beep," but it was too late. "Amelia Bedelia," warned Mrs. Shaw, "I know it's fun, but you'd be better off learning about real animals in the real world instead of thinking about a zoo in your backyard. That's pie in the sky." Amelia Bedelia wanted to hear how pie could stay in the sky, but she knew that now was not the time to ask. At lunch, Suzanne tried to explain. "My grandma says that all the time," she says. "It's a way to say you're dreaming. She's meaning that your zoo is not going to happen." "But what does a pie in the sky have to do with animals in a backyard?" thought Amelia Bedelia. Suzanne shrugged her shoulders and opened her lunchbox. "I don't know," she says, "but I sure hope my mom packed me some pie today." "Amelia Bedelia," said Heather, "we all hope you keep working on your zoo, but because it's really cool. But if you hear a beep, watch out." This is Chapter 6, Watched Like a Shark. After lunch, Mrs. Shock began talking about endangered animals. Amelia Bedelia took a big risk by peeking in her notebook at the list that she made of cool animals from the zoo. Angel, ball python. Roger, deer head. Nope, cross that out. Kid on a bus, giant cat. Heather, chinchilla. Joy, rabbit. Penny, her mouse. She still felt bad about turning down Roger's deer head. She knew that zoologists and scientists often studied animals from a long time ago, and then she remembered that last year Roger had brought a beautiful lizard for show and tell. It was green with gold spots and blue lines around its eyelids. Amelia Bedelia made sure that Mrs. Shock wasn't looking and wrote Roger a note. "Dear Roger, please bring your amazing lizard to my house. I'll put it in my zoo. Sorry about the deer. Amelia Bedelia." She folded the note into a tiny square, wrote Roger on the outside, and passed it to Penny just as Mrs. Shock looked up. Beep! Very quietly and carefully, the note was passed from student to student until it reached Roger. Mrs. Shock was talking about polar bears when Amelia Bedelia got her answer. "In a few years," said Mrs. Shock, "polar bears might go extinct." "No, I don't believe it," said Amelia Bedelia. The whole class stared at her. "You disagree, Amelia Bedelia?" What if an animal disappears? That's okay, said Amelia Bedelia. If their coats or skins let them blend in, it protects them. You're getting ahead of us, said Mrs. Shock. We'll talk about natural camouflage next. What Amelia Bedelia had not believed was the answer to her note. Amelia Bedelia, my lizard was a gecko named George. He died. From Roger. Amelia Bedelia wrote back, Roger, I'm sorry. Amelia Bedelia. When Mrs. Shock turned around to the board, Amelia Bedelia held out the note to Penny, but Penny didn't take it. Amelia Bedelia looked at her. Beep. Penny was staring straight ahead, ignoring Amelia Bedelia and the note. Beep. Amelia Bedelia had forgotten the first rule of passing a note to school. Never take your eyes off the teacher. Beep. But it was too late. Amelia Bedelia looked up at Mrs. Shock and froze like a baby bunny in an open field. The hawk came swooping down the aisle. Gleaming red talons plucked the note out of her hand. I'll take this, young lady, and I will see you after school. Looking at the rest of the class, she added, and if I hear one more beep out of anyone while I am teaching, you will join Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia, said Mrs. Shock at the end of the day, I am so disappointed. You're usually very considerate. You ask good questions, you pay attention, and now you're drawing plans for a zoo and passing notes. After I missed the trip to the zoo, said Amelia Bedelia, I just wanted to do something fun for my class and with animals. Tears welled up in her eyes. I see, said Mrs. Shock. How's it going? Are you making progress? Amelia Bedelia thought for a few seconds, and then she said, pretty good, but it isn't easy to make an interesting zoo, especially if you can't have the type of animals that can eat you. Mrs. Shock laughed, and Amelia Bedelia smiled. You know, said Mrs. Shock, I have been to lots of zoos all over the world, and I have seen thousands of animals. I'd love that, said Amelia Bedelia. It's fun to see them, said Mrs. Shock, but I've always wondered what it's like to be them. That's more interesting, said Amelia Bedelia. Mrs. Shock nodded. Pay attention, please, in class, and you might get an idea for your zoo. She handed the note back to Amelia Bedelia. I promise, she said. In my class, said Mrs. Shock, you can keep your head in the clouds as long as your feet are on the ground. Getting in trouble and staying after school meant that Amelia Bedelia missed her bus, so her feet were definitely on the ground. As she waited for the bench out in front for her mom to pick her up, she thought about her zoo, her friends, and what her teacher had said. She looked up at the sky. She could never look at the clouds without seeing animals in them. Today, she saw a whole zoo overhead. The hippopotamus drifted by a rhinoceros chasing a cheetah away from a gazelle. They raced around a huge cloud that didn't have much shape, and it was rounded on the top and flat on the bottom, like a giant tortoise with its head and legs tucked inside its shell. Nope. Wait a second. Amelia Bedelia couldn't believe it. It was a pie. A pie in the sky. She pointed at it, but no one was around to share it with her. Suddenly it changed into a lizard, and then it scampered away. If there can be a pie in the sky, then there can be a zoo in my backyard, said Amelia Bedelia.